What's going on, y'all? We're back at it today. Welcome to One of One with the James M and the Vegan Heathen Lifestyle. Today on the docket, we have failure. Many people's relationships with failure is, let me not speak for everybody. I'm going to speak for me. And maybe some of y'all listening can see if this resonates, but failure is one of those things that is usually given a negative connotation. And in reality, failure is it's another stepping stone, right? So we're going to dive a little bit deeper into it. Yeah. What you got, James?
Yeah, I mean, kind of, it's interesting, and I think we'll go into more of this as we go along, but the way that we got to this point, talking about this in the same city, in the same studio, even running 100 miles an hour towards a podcast is because we failed. We failed in other places. We failed in places where we had target fixation on some things that we thought were going to be our life, on some things we thought that our energy had been tracking to for so long that either we're going to continue to go down that path, or it's stuff that we thought we really wanted. That, the universe, something showed us, that's maybe not where we need to be.
Yeah.
Some doors close, other doors open, but oftentimes, the doors that we think we need to be going through are the ones that are closing. And some other doors, simply because we're open-minded and willing to try new things, open as the other one to close. And it's been actually a ridiculous blessing. And I think you can speak to that too, even just in our collaboration in this space with failure. And I think us kind of going into sharing with everyone listening a little bit about what the collaborative group that we have on the side that we meet once a week, and how that plays into relationship with failure. I think that would be a good thing for us to go into here, because I think that there's a lot of creativity going on in that group, and a lot of things that we're failing at, but it's changed perspective.
Yeah. No, 100%. And I think too, going right along with that is maybe even laying out what we think failure means. Like, what does the word failure actually mean? Because as I kind of got at the onset of this, I think failure typically, I would give the definition, the layman's definition of failure is not achieving the desired outcome. So whether, my goal is to go to the store and find me a red pair of shoes, and I go there and they only got blue shoes, I failed. Now maybe that failure is not on me because I don't control if the shoes are there or not, but obviously in more of an impactful context, okay, I have an aspiration to start a business, and that business doesn't get off the ground, or it launches and then, collapses, in shorter time than it took to plan the whole thing out. And our group that we're in, seeing the pockets that everybody is in their own unique walks. You got some people doing photo visual, you got some people doing audio, you got others who are really into, gardening. You got people who are, just setting up businesses just because like shit, we trying to hit big numbers, big T's.
Because we can,
and how failure can kind of manifest in the different, depending on what it is that someone's pursuing. So for instance, we'll take Buddy in the group who's doing something where he's literally failing several times an hour, at the same goal. And that's built in to the mechanism and the machination of that practice versus, let's just I'll use myself as an example. If I put out a song, and let's say I put out one song a month, and I put out a song and my song doesn't get 1,000 plays, like that's a failure. Quote unquote, a failure depending on what the goal was, which is another thing that I think is important distinction to make on what the actual intention was and how sometimes, intention can get kind of caught up and it can start to pull in other intentions that weren't really the root intention. They could have been cool byproducts. So for instance, specifically my music, knowing that my intention had been, all right, I'm gonna put out one song a month, starting from X date, X month, and we're gonna go basically until we don't. And that being the main intention. So if I do that, that's success. So then if I have this expectation or this desired, trickle down effect that could have come from it where, it catches fire, goes viral. It gets all these, fucking 30 billion streams. You know what I'm saying? Oh man, that'd be so awesome. So if it doesn't happen, if I choose to view that as failure, I'm then almost being ungrateful for the actual success of what the initial intention is. And that's in that scenario versus scenarios where, basically my point about that, even bringing it up, is that I basically give myself then one chance a month to fail at something versus someone who's putting themselves in a position to fail potentially hundreds of times a day. And just how different that conditions you and how you relate to the failure. If you're just like, if you're trying to ask a woman out, you know what I mean? Growing up, that was something that
we had some conversations.
We had some conversations, yeah, man. And growing up, I was super uncomfortable or unconfident in terms of approaching women. So I didn't get my shots up. I didn't even get to an attempt number that then could even be feasible to start to get progress. Like, so I think that's a really important thing is keep in mind, like the velocity, like fail often, for real. Like I'm talking about, in one goal, you can fail 12 times a year versus maybe being able to fail 12,000 times in a year. And just how that's going to harden you in a different way to just kind of not give a damn about failure.
But by and large, also give a damn about failure because you're intending to fail. Because in my estimations, for me at least, I was a perfectionist, right? And we'll go into some deep thoughts on perfectionism in later episodes. However, for a while, man, and I know that you've struggled with this too, and maybe not even struggled, just dealt with, had to navigate this. I don't want to release anything unless it hits a standard, okay? But by doing that, I'm really like at a point. There's a fine line between a standard and an expectation. Yeah. And that expectation being tied to the emotional response to the outcome of what comes of it. Yeah. Okay? Us putting out a track a month, or you putting out a track a month, if that's the goal with the intent to release 12 in a year, okay, you need to do that. Okay? And failing has nothing to do with how many streams it gets. Because that's out of your control. Right? You can do everything that you can do, but if you set 12 and that's lofty, and you get 11, but you were out there doing the damn work, right? Trying to get there. Okay, you failed, but did you really? Because you set a goal high enough that it pushed you to fail. But even, I'll flip that back on its head and say, I don't think 12 songs, right? 12 songs in the grand scheme is pushing ourselves high enough to actually reach our full potential. Yeah. Because my relationship with failure, and if you haven't heard my music, go get you a laugh. Go over to Spotify and look me up.
Don't even get a laugh. Just check it out.
It's interesting. So per recommendation of Sae'Von, I was told, man, you need to get Fruity Loops. You need to get Ableton. You need to secure a few more things. Use some resources out there, and you need to just start playing. You need to start playing with audio. So come really from photo video background, but audio is a thing in video that a lot of people don't pay attention to. And honestly, let me take a jab at all you videographers out there for a second. You cats that are stealing people's audio and think that's cute, it's trash. You have plenty of people that have plenty of talent that are down to collaborate. / you've got Artlist and MusicBed and Soundstripe and all kinds of other crap. You can make your own stuff. You can license your own stuff. So if you're out there stealing music in 2020 as a videographer, you need to stop. That's trash. It really disenfranchises individuals like who's sitting across from me who makes music. That's a primary for him. Like, you're gonna rip my visuals off and put it to your music?
Yeah, no, that would be like a trespass. That would just,
what? Why? Right? So I'm getting a little bit on a tangent here about my failure, but I think that it is something to look at when we're talking about me going into music, or anyone. If you're a painter and you wanna start making beats, make some beats. Yeah. You're a singer, you wanna start painting, do it. You're a gardener, you wanna make a YouTube channel, do it. Right? You want to get creative with your cooking. Right? We're not even talking about visual arts and execution and publicly posting. Yeah. We're not even talking about that. We're talking about the action of trying something new.
Yeah.
Right? Giving yourself the permission to fail.
Yeah.
And then being happy. Like, I have kind of switched up And I think quite aggressively my desired goals weekly and daily. And I've kind of shifted them up from, the influences in my life that have through our group of guys, and then also the content that I'm taking in, and we'll definitely go into some of that mindset stuff too down the road. But it has gotten me excited to fail. Like, what can I do that is large enough that I have the ability to fail? Not I have the ability to succeed. Because if I say, I'm gonna make 100 G's this year, and I make 100 G's, what does that do for me? Okay, I hit a goal, but great. Why don't I say I want to make 5 mil, 10 mil, and aspire to that? Because you like at the end of the day, if you're dreaming too small, I mean, you're never going to hit that ideal, right? You're never going to actually hit that ideal, because that ideal should be changing, right? You should be dreaming big enough that you continue to fail and you enjoy failure. You change your relationship with it, right? Failing in physical fitness, failing in learning a new language, staying up on a new language, learning a third language, trying to push towards being trilingual instead of bilingual. Most of y'all don't know this, but this man that's sitting across from me and myself, we met back in Spanish class at UGA.
Yeah, man. Good times.
And so that's something we both have, but we both oftentimes don't use.
Yeah, and it's like you don't use something, you lose it. And then it's, and now I can speak in this personally, it's like another hesitancy for failure. I've many times found myself, you go into a store, or tienda, and there's somebody working, and like initially I'm like, I should do this entire interaction in Spanish. But every time I don't, it's because I was afraid that I was going to fuck up. I was going to look dumb, and
someone's going to make fun of you.
You know what I'm saying? And the reality is that has never once happened. And it's that relationship with failure that in our group over the last, several weeks as I've reflected on it, has really pointed out as like, damn, and how it interacts and connects with perfectionism. And perfectionism being a result of this paranoia or this delusion that if I don't do something perfectly, it will absolutely and utterly fail. And so it's deleting all of the gradation that exists in between. All of the spectrum is eliminated and it becomes, success, fail. And it's like, hold up now.
Almost makes it binary instead of it being a sliding scale. Like there's give and take. It's gray. It's not black and white.
And I think that by viewing it that way, it takes out all of the nuanced learning and experience that comes from being on wherever in that spectrum that someone happens to fall in. So even your point about like 12 songs, a year, being like, is that really that ambitious? And being able to have perspective on things, I think is what really aids in someone's relationship with failure as well, to really know. For instance, I'm sure everybody can think about somebody that, whether it was MySpace back in the day or Facebook, but they'd see a post and it's like, Michael Jordan didn't make his high school basketball team, but it's like, that's so powerful to hear, because you'd be like, imagine if he let that one moment of failure be like, damn, I shouldn't do basketball. And there wouldn't be Michael Jordan, and because there's no Michael Jordan, there wouldn't be a Pyrex 23, and there wouldn't be a fucking Space Jam, and there's just all these other things that...
And there wouldn't be someone in the game that LeBron and Kobe could
aspire to become greats. Like seriously. And just the
why would they have pushed that hard if somebody hadn't done it before them, or they didn't have and not an idol, that's not in that way, but someone to look at,
an
and
ideal
say,
to strive for.
Yeah.
But that person had to go through their own relationship with failure and reconciling that to get to their ultimate success. And literally, as we know in physical fitness, for some of y'all listening may know this, may not, I trained people in the past. I've stepped back drastically from kind of my being entrenched in training. And James, he's jumped, deep into the training the last several months. And so in training, for y'all who don't know, or just building up your body, you literally have to rip your body apart. You have to tear the muscle fibers apart, and it is that tearing and destruction that becomes rebuilt on top of and is fortified that actually builds the body up, right? So literally, and that's what we were talking about, going to failure in sets, that is how you literally build the body up. When you're prototyping a program, all right, and you're debugging is literally, we got to go through and find all the ways this doesn't work. We literally have to break this system as many ways as we can so we can figure out where those holes are, so we can fix those bugs and those vulnerabilities so that we have an ironclad system to build our platform on going forward. But if people were afraid to find out how their app didn't work, or what level that the server crashed at, what then?
Well, they'd be more vulnerable. And I think that everyone that is afraid to fail is very vulnerable, right? I think that if you're going to not put yourself into situations where you have to be tested, where you have to know what that innate response is, where you have to work through, if you don't like how you respond to something, or you don't like how you think about something on immediate reaction, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it to change it? If you don't know that you react a certain way, you don't know that you have a certain relationship with something because you've never pushed far enough to figure out if you have
Find
it,
that out, yeah.
then how are you ever going to change it? And you're never really going to get better, because if you're comfortable, right? Give you an example. I'm sure you can probably definitely agree with this one and pick out an anecdote in your life. Shooting the things that I do, doing to the level that I, and for all of you listening, we're talking about photography. We're talking about like intimate swimwear and some lingerie / boudoir. That's the majority of my work. Where I started doing portraits and grad photos, and even just the step and repeating and turnkey, just grinding of the same type of grad shoots that paid extremely well, that got me massive steak dinners, that got my girl and I. And
that's one way to measure it. The size of the steak on the plate, baby.
Yeah, and y'all will understand that a little bit later. Why I reference steak there, but it's it put me in a very great monetary position for where I was at when I was doing them, but I was stagnant in growth. It was giving me money, right? It was fulfilling a need, but I was also starving myself other places. There's no creativity when you do the same thing over and over and over and over. And that goes for any music producer. Yeah. And that goes for any visual artist. That goes for anyone on the engineering side. That goes for anyone doing anything, right? If you are literally doing the same thing, right? You talk about insanity. People talk about this all the time. Yeah. And people, I think, like to force apply this to everything, but you talk about insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different response. Yeah. What do you think is going to happen if I just continue to shoot grad photos? Well, I'm going to continue to make the money that I'm shooting grad photos for.
Which could be the intention, but
if it's not, if you're just doing it because it's the money, that takes us to another place. Yeah. You shouldn't be doing any of this just for the money, because there's a lot of ways to make money. Yeah. Investments. Go get a regular job, chase your passion on the side, go stock at night at Walmart or Kroger. Do the jobs that people don't want to do, that are readily available in times of crises and in times of abundance in the world. They're readily available because no one wants to do them. Yeah. There's plenty of ways to make money. I don't think that staying in a creative lane, if money is a purpose, one, that you're ever going to get to you're ever going to hit the limit of what you can actually bring to the world. And two, I don't think that that's beneficial to your betterment or the world. The world deserves the best out of you. Yeah. And so if you're out here just, man, I'm just trying to get a quick buck. Yeah. Okay, well, there's tons of ways to get quick bucks.
For real. And I think specifically with the creative aspect, because that's what we're focused on. How does your art get moved forward if there's this stress on it, this burden that it has to generate revenue? Because and as we hear the stories, as we're growing up, at least I did, of different painters or artists that no one gave a damn when they were alive. Their art wasn't revered or respected highly. It wasn't until far, far past they were here. So what that really means too is that, these dudes, the Van Goghs, all these cats, they weren't, their paintings may go for millions now, but they wasn't getting that back then. So there had to be another driving force for them to get there. And even in terms of really broaching new foundations or new frontiers in one's own creativity, oftentimes it has to come from trying something new, and oftentimes when you try something new, so let's say, when I first started out making rap music, right? I started out rapping. So then for me to move into making the beats, it was a risk. but I knew that I wanted to make a shift. There might be a train in the background, you guys. Something like that.
Or, street cleaner or something.
We were just checking that out for y'all. Maybe y'all don't hear it at all, but threw us off. I thought it was an Inception. It was just like, what are you doing, Dom? Calm. Get it under control, man. But in that instance, only reason I stepped into that realm of production was because I said, man, this is cool what's going on, and this is no knock at our producer at the time, Will, he's amazing, but I just wanted a different sound. And so I'm like, all right, I can sit around on my hands and wait for something that's really out of my control, or I can learn another skill, and I had no idea what I was doing. But at that time, and that's something I reflect on often, is how quickly I grew, or the rapid iteration that came in periods of my life where I gave no damn about failing, because I was having so much fun. That childlike, creativity that we talk about, and that approach to things.
Childlike endeavors.
The childlike endeavors, but it required me to not be afraid to make sorry beats. And a lot of them was trash. I still make trash from time to time, but
it happens. It's because you're willing to push. You're willing to try new things. You're willing to go outside your comfort zone.
Yeah,
because you could make the same drum, similar melodic.
Mm-hmm.
You can make similar melodic beats, similar drum patterns over and over and over, and you could throw your bars on there, and you're a lyricist for sure. But you could make the same type of beats. And sure, you might be able to crank out music, but you're going to be stagnant.
And then it's like finding that balance of knowing that, there are ways to get to the goal, but you have to have that goal in mind and understand that you're almost always going to have to walk through some trepidatious waters to get to the other side of where you want to be at. Like even you with the music, man, years ago when you came by the crib and you're giving me feedback on my track, and I'm like, damn, bro, like most people can't articulate what it is that they're hearing from what they think is good and what they think could be worked on as well as you can. And you don't do anything with music. I don't know, man. You got a good ear, man. You might want to look at it. And it took years, you know what I mean, for you to move into that, because you were granted, obviously your focus wasn't that. So
focus wasn't creative in general.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? No one get this misconstrued that you should just every day wake up and decide to like 180 your life. That's not what we're saying, but we're just giving examples, that we can point to, that it can take time to get over those hurdles. Because even at that time, you're like, and I remember you saying this, like, yeah, but I feel like if I go too deep into this music, man, I might dive into a rabbit hole, and I'm focused on this visual right now, so I don't really want to do that at this moment.
Yeah, I think that was the first time that I had ever responded about, because you had said it multiple times when we were kicking it, in the studio. You were showing me some stuff, and it was kind of when I was getting really introduced to your music, how you liked to arrange things. Some of your bars, like I didn't have any exposure to it before then.
Yeah.
But I was still able to pick out some things. I was able to hear that this isn't just like, oh man, we hit the loop button, and we hit this, and we stack these, and we quantize this, and
808s.
here we go.
Yeah.
There was nuance to what you were doing. So I mean, that has actually led us to now like I'm trying to I'm really getting in Fruity Loops or Ableton 4 times a week right now, and starting a track. I'm starting a track every day, and I'm finishing 3 to 4 a week, and then just releasing them on Spotify.
Yeah.
Mixing them to the best of my ability. But what I'm not going to be doing, and what I would encourage all of you to do, let me not speak like that, not do, is you might have that friend that knows more about what you're doing than you do. That's not an excuse to wait on their feedback to release stuff.
That's real.
Not an excuse at all, because they'll give you their feedback if they want to give it to you. But you also don't have to have it on everything.
Nah.
They don't need to be a proxy for you releasing stuff. This is you trying new things. And you need the space to fail. Because if your homie, your old guy, producer, songwriter in Nashville, out in LA, on some K-pop stuff, like across the world, if they're proxying everything that you're going to release, they're not letting you fail.
Nah.
What you need to do is do what we did yesterday, where he played all my tracks in the car and gave me feedback about all of them, and they're already public. They're already out there.
There you go. It's like,
until
put it out, send me the link.
Yeah.
And
let me know when it's live. Let me know when it's live, and then I'll get you my thoughts.
Post that video, then shoot it my way.
Yeah. Go ahead and get out there. Go ahead. What was the word that Doug was talking about the other day? The phrase.
Practice in public?
Yes, that.
Practice in public. And I think that idea, because even if people think about their own lives, like the moment, for instance, when we had our shows, we had a show at the Masquerade several years ago, and it's like, that's one of those things where once you're going, you're going. The difference between, when someone is an actor on a television show or on something that's like a multicam show versus when you're an actor on a stage play. There's a difference, and you can't stop and we got to cut and take one and take two and take three. It's like, look, we're running. If you mess up, keep going. You know what I mean? Because it's live. We practicing in public, and we got an audience. We got company. You know what I'm saying? So be on point, and whatever you messed up, we'll hash it out later, and we come back tomorrow night and we do it again, and we come back the night after and we do it again. And we had that show. I'm out there performing, and we got this song, and I botched the lyrics, and in my head I'm like, fuck. I messed up the lyrics, but I'm just like, the show got to keep going. But had I not been in public, you know what I'm saying?
You would have just timed out.
I would have literally. Hold on. Let me do over.
Run that back. Delete that. Run that back. Hey, actually, just get rid of that audio file. I'm just gonna run it back.
Yeah, and
okay, but you can't do that when there's 100 people.
It's a different muscle.
3,000 people.
It's a different muscle, man. And I think that in terms of people's creativity, because it's something that often is so personal, like, because it's coming from them. There was a thing that didn't exist and now it exists, that there's this precious relationship to it. And you don't want your baby to be hurt. You don't even want to make fun of your child. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to get their names called, get bullied, get slapped around, get beat up. So but that also is assuming that that's going to be what happens. So then we start to talk into mindset. Are you looking at things that, with half full, half empty? Are you thinking about all the ways that song that your first song you ever threw out that could pop? Or you think, oh man, ain't nobody.
Tarzan.
And seriously though, I do want to touch on just how deep it was, knowing that, especially when you get to a certain point. Like I will say, granted, when people kind of come into a certain space, like if I were to just today all of a sudden start practicing unicycle, right? Now that's the thing. Some people do unicycle. I went to high school with a dude who did like clown unicycle and all that. So
yeah, the old owner at the bar that I used to work at, same
really?
thing. And he could juggle liquor bottles.
Wow.
And like on fire stuff and breathe fire while he was on a unicycle, like behind the bar. Like,
I was hoping there was fire involved.
Yeah.
So my point being, like, all right, let's say you build up and you're the biggest unicycle juggling, Jaeger juggling cat in the game, right?
Yeah.
You now have this reputation as the juggling unicycle, guy. So there's a little bit. So now if you want to take that and you want to move into tightrope or you want to move into acrobatics or something, it's a different domain, and how you fail there, you could be reflecting on how, and a better example of this, let's just jump to it now, is with you. And knowing that you build up a portfolio of visual work. That visual work carries a certain vibe. You know what I mean? Like there's different vibes to everything. There's vibes to high school, yearbook portraits. There's vibes to, zoo photography, landscape photography. What you do and the way you do it has a certain characteristic and vibe. And when you've built a brand that is doing well in a certain domain, it doesn't really matter the domain, but in your case, you built that brand up inside of that domain and it's garnered respect. It's garnered a following. So then, knowing that you're gonna put your feet into another pond, and how a lot of times people they like things to stay where they understand it, where they can point it all out, diagram it, and know it, quote unquote, in their minds, inside and out.
They can categorize it.
They can put it in a box.
It's small enough that it can be in a box in their head.
Yeah, and psychologically, there's a lot of justification for that. We can only remember so many names. We can only remember, there's literally a limitation in our brains, right? And so the more that somebody can kind of parse down and simplify and reduce and lower resolution, so to say, it's going to allow us so that they can theoretically hold more in terms of variety. So with that being said, it makes it so that then you or whoever the artist is has to make a decision of like, if I step into this other realm, let's say, your energy is a certain way with the photography, and then you put out a track during this whole thing going on in the world called Corona Tarzan. For one, that can piss a lot of people off who then take that a certain way and say, oh, this James, who does he think he is? And now that hurts your art following, your visual work, all because you took a risk in this side and you weren't trying to make it all this same vibration, the same energy. We're like, all right, the way that this feels over here needs to feel over here, because then it's just another box we put on ourselves. I came in the game making rap music, but I also make orchestral scores and cues. And that's one of the ways that we really first got into the game of collaborating together.
That's literally. That's really how we got flowing on the same vibration, because we both enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm. And it requires an openness to something that is very different and could have negative ramifications. When I even started rapping, I'm like, dang, my mama gonna feel a certain way about some of these lyrics. But if I'm sitting there worried about that, and me and Keaton and Mike and Will and Addie, we used to discuss this, and Chance of man, like some people in our lives, they may feel a certain way about these bars. Some people in our lives, they may feel a certain way about what we say in this podcast. But are we gonna let that control what we choose to express? Because if we do, then we're afraid, and maybe failure isn't how someone would naturally look at that, or, oh, you're afraid of people's opinion. But, it's like, it's a similar fear of some undesired outcome that then inhibits one's ability to express fully what their intention or vision was.
Because we have an emotional reaction to their emotional reaction.
There you go.
And so when you put stock into that, and I, like, in my opinion, it doesn't matter what anybody thinks. So, we're talking about authenticity here, right? Yeah. This relates straight up to failure, because I think I said this to you on the phone the other day, and I truly believe this, and I've come into a place where, like, there is no way I'm not going to run, more aggressively in this direction. It's it's very funny. I would much rather you, your mama, my sister, all our friends, our exes, everyone, our accountability group. I would rather have everyone have a very clear understanding of who I am at this moment and what the versatility looks like, and make a judgment for themselves that they are well within their rights to make.
Yeah.
Do whatever, if you're really about some stuff, or you're really not about some stuff. I would rather you be authentic to where maybe your own self-limiting beliefs are going to stop you from wanting to interact with me. And that's fine.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give you the space to do that. But I would rather you do that on I know who James is being authentic. And so if I don't like this part of James, and I don't want to be in James's life because I think that part of James reflects negatively on me, you got your space. The door, you know where the door is. That's okay. I would rather you know where the door is with me for who I really am, rather than trying to be compartmentalized different people, playing like dissociative this. Like I got personality 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Man, at church I act this way. With my mama I act this way. At the bar I act this way. With women I act this way. And then with creative, I'm like some completely different celestial being out here, like floating in la la land. Like that's not who I am, right? I dream big, but like, I need to be authentic. So I would much rather fail in your eyes. Like, oh man, James, like really, really letting me down here. Yeah. Okay, cool. If I'm letting you down because I'm being me, well, then I guess, at this point in our life, I respect you, I appreciate your time. And it's a blessing that we got to spend this time together. But like, if we must fly apart, that's okay.
And how that even comes full circle is that's you or the individual not being afraid of that relationship failing. Because it's like...
It goes deeper than just the art.
It goes way deeper, and because that's the reality that we're really getting at is like, damn, I value these people. These people mean something to me. I care about what they think about me. And this thing has kept that intact. So then if I bring this out over here, will that keep our relationship successful and improve it? Or will it hurt it and pull it closer to a point of failure? But it's like, then you have to make that choice. Once again, are you going to self-limit and then kind of box yourself in, or say, damn all that, I'm gonna do me, and we'll hash out the rest, man. Who's here when when that's all said and done? Hell yeah, let's run it. Who's not? It's been real. No hard feelings. And I'd rather you let me know that you don't like that, or now you feel a different way, whatever.
Or you just Casper right out like Halloween and you get out of my life. Like that's okay. I don't have any ill will towards that. I would rather you do what you feel you need to do for you, because I'm damn sure not gonna do anything but what I need to do for me and those that are in my life that I care about truly. And really, that's a select few people, right? And my family.
Yeah.
And everyone else, love y'all.
Yeah.
Hope we can be acquainted.
Yeah.
But like, your opinion matters about as much as the dirt that I walk on.
Yeah.
So like, I appreciate the respect and I appreciate the love on work and I absolutely do. But if you think that you slide into my DMs and tell me I need to be this or be that or need to stop doing this or stop doing that or you should do this or do that, it's coming from a place of judgment because you want me to adhere to your standards.
Yeah.
Well, there's nothing coming for you because I'm probably going to respond LOL and that's it. And so if you got an LOL response from me in my DMs because you said some sideways nonsense like that, now you know why.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to give energy to that. If you don't like it, that's well within your right. But it's just as well within my right to say sayonara. And if we cross paths again, we cross paths again. No harm, no foul.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that, you're even talking about the failing of a relationship. Is it a failure of a relationship or is it the universe, unicity, capital T, truth? Is it something out there just saying, hey, maybe that connection doesn't need to be kept at this point in your life?
Because you're in a different place. And that realization that as we change, the things that we want to do, how we choose to express ourselves changes. You know what I mean? Like I've said for a while, or I've known for a while, like, I mean, bro, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I enjoy this rapping thing. You know, I definitely recognize that I have a skill. But 10 years from now, I don't think I'm going to be rapping. Yeah. You know, like I'm pretty sure that I'm going to hang that hat. That hat's going to be hanging on a hook somewhere. And that's cool. You know what I'm saying? So, and even yesterday, you know, as we were shooting that commercial, you know, and homie is telling me how he's talking to people and he's leading by telling them that I'm some visual artist. And I'm like, damn, that's amazing because I do want to move in that direction, but no one else in my life would call me the visual dude. I'd be the music guy.
And it's very funny when someone's like, oh yeah, my buddy's a music guy. My friends that are not even friends, let's call them acquaintances, a lot of acquaintances. That's also something we need to go into down the road because there's a big difference in
psychologically people then commit. That's my friend though. I don't know about that. Somebody you know.
Yeah, it's someone that you're acquainted with. Yeah. But acquaintances of mine, introducing me to other people and talking about, oh man, this is James. He makes music. Like how? I almost started laughing yesterday. Not because you're not moving into visuals, and not because your visuals aren't good, because they are. Yeah. But it's just kind of funny. Like my context to you is like we talk about visual stuff as like a secondary or tertiary, not a primary. Like visuals are something you're moving into and failing forward with. Yeah. But audio is the primary. Yeah. So it's funny. He's talking about you with other people as being the visual guy.
Meanwhile, I'm standing with who to me is the visual guy.
And I'm releasing Spotify tracks and people are introducing me to other people as the audio guy. And I'm like, it's like I've had FL and I've had Ableton for 21 days.
Yeah. But even that and how
21 days.
Watching your relationship with that has allowed me to completely reframe my approach, and just sometimes you really just have to see somebody do something different who doesn't come from that world. So it's like I've studied, you know, how Keaton decided to move and his music and other people around me, Alec, you know what I'm saying, Tim, folks who do this music, but they didn't see
very talented individuals too.
Yeah, you know
and
what I'm saying?
Passionate individuals. And all of it.
And not to leave anybody out, but just they have a different kind of volume of music out compared to some of the other people that I really deal with on a day-to-day, you know. But so then to see you come in and take an approach that no one, and as we were talking about yesterday in the whip, where I'm like, dang man, you know, I'm not gonna throw that number out there, but if you hit your goal, you know, it's like, yo,
don't put me on blast on here.
You know,
don't hold me accountable to all these people. I got enough accountability with you.
You afraid you ain't gonna hit it? But
maybe.
But just that realization of like, you know what though, like sometimes you got to reframe and knowing how that you know worked obviously in that relationship with my own perfectionism, but just being like, dang. You could really like, all right, it's been how long? And, you know, obviously I'm only counting the ones that I've self-released on my own, but, you know, be like, dang, this man has half the amount of songs I have out total, and I've been working on music and, you know, but also seeing that realization of, dang, well, if my computer is full with all this music, why is it still sitting there? Am I afraid that song's not going to perform well? Or I'm afraid that it's like, look, bro, how are the rest of them performing right now? What's the ultimate goal? If it's not out there, nothing can happen with your art. No one can appreciate your art if they aren't exposed to it.
No one can stumble upon it.
No one can accidentally.
If you don't ever unlock the vault.
You know what I mean?
If it's just in a lockbox somewhere in the back of a hard drive, and the only people that have heard it, maybe, if even that, are your homies, your close homies that come by the studio. Like not like people you're acquainted with, like people that come by the studio that you value their opinion for whatever reason, right? Like even then, we don't hear most of your stuff. 98% we don't ever hear.
And I know that's changing, and so much of that is because just seeing like someone go from zero to boom, 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 and also realizing the era that we live in. And I think on so many fronts, like it's almost no area of creativity, no realm of creativity that hasn't been heightened, and the access has not been made far easier, the barrier to entry across the board. So whether it's with visuals, where before, you had to know how the film worked, you had to have a hookup or know how to
you didn't know how
develop
to expose, the red light in places to change exposure.
I press a button now. You know what I'm saying? I can pull out my cell phone.
Yeah, we got face tracking and autofocus.
Autofocus, all this stuff where it's like, man, what a luxury. Back in the day when they were doing portraits in the 1800s, they're like, yo, don't move. Stay right there. And they happen to do all of this and
a full box around them, like a full curtain, and they can't move it all. They move it all. The whole thing's gonna be shot. Yeah.
And same thing with music. Back in the day, it's like you couldn't just do infinite takes. It's like, yo, we have a limited amount of tape in this machine, and when we run through it, boom, 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 we don't. So it forces and I think just that very same thing I was talking about, like your live performance, or even like when you certain types of photography shoots where it's like, look, we have this prop thing, we're trying to get this one specific shot, and for instance, you're releasing doves. Once we release those doves, they're gone.
They're out in nature now, and you're not getting them back.
So it's like, don't be afraid. Don't let that be the reason that you're like, oh, I can't control all the parameters, so I don't want to even try. I don't even want to deal with it. But I digress. I kind of got down the road on that. But point really just being, there are so many tools and so many ways, especially with the internet, y'all. Something just to share with y'all as creative people. It is so much in our best interest to make the search engine your bitch. That's really what. But you gotta make it your bitch. You gotta make it serve you, so that anytime somebody types your name in, your business's name, your company's name, a project you've worked on, a collaborator of yours, you should be coming up, because no matter what it is, we see people out here thriving, making videos about how to decorate cupcakes, how to do their makeup. You know what I mean? All these things that are so niched down that 40, 50, 60, 70 years ago, it in a lot of ways would have been unfeasible for someone to build their life off of it. But because of the internet and because of data tracking, to be honest, and search engine optimization, you know what I mean? Yeah, we might have to jump into that one on another time. And
Smith, where are you?
How to make it work for yourself. But seriously, so for anybody to let the fear, and just as much as we're talking about this and we're talking to y'all out there about this is me talking to myself about it. But refining that relationship with failure and being okay, not separating the action and the intention from the expectation of whatever the outcome is supposed to be. Is massively it can provide a radical shift, not just your creative life, but your life as a whole. Well,
I think that releasing that emotional response to the outcome is, I think, the difference, and how failure is. To understand failure, you have to understand the difference between standards and expectations. And the way that I break it down for me is that standards, it's a level of quality that you're going to hit. It has nothing to do with how anyone responds.
Yes.
Has everything to do with your end and what your standard is that you're going to do anything at, or you're going to do whatever X task is at. The expectation, in a lot of ways, that's you just being emotionally volatile around something you can't control, because that has to do with other people. So the expectation, oh man, I'm gonna put out this banger. Okay, I worked so hard on this track, or I worked so hard on this InDesign book for this brand, new lookbook. We're pitching a client, we're doing whatever, and it flops. quote unquote.
Yeah.
It flops because you set an expectation that you were going to have 100,000 plays in 30 days.
Yeah.
Okay. How? Because really, most of the time, it's just assigning that massive, hey, this outcome's got to be here because it's got to be here.
Yeah.
But there's no steps taken to try to track towards that. So it's literally just an expectation.
Yeah.
And, I've said this plenty of times, and plenty of people disagree with me. I truly believe when you have expectations in life, not standards, expectations, you're setting yourself up for failure, and not the kind of failure that's going to push you forward. The kind of failure that you're never going to be, no matter how much positive you take out of it, you will never win. Because you will continue. It's self-deprecating.
Insatiable.
It shoves you into the ground. Because you're associating success not with like, hey, did I swing the bat today? Right? Did I go to batting practice? Right? And we're going to use a baseball analogy here, probably a decent bit, because I really do like it. How much batting practice are you doing, right? How much are you releasing? How much work are you allowing to be out there in the world and give it room to breathe, right? How much are you willing to fail forward in public, right? Public, what do you say, public practice?
Yeah, practice in public.
Yeah, practice in public. Like that's powerful. That's powerful. But the standard and expectation thing is something I think people need to get really their own understanding of, both in creative and the rest of life, because so much of our relationships are based on our expectation of what the other person is going to do. And oh man, they're going to respond because I spent 19 hours on this mix. They're going to love it. Well, that's not true, because that has nothing to do with
They don't care.
And they don't care how many hours you spent.
They might respect it.
Yeah.
But they don't care if the end result, if the end body of work, and that's the thing too. I think from a creative standpoint, that's a big question as well. Is like, why are you creating? Like, first and foremost, are you creating for others to give you validation? Are you creating to express an innate thing that you wanted to be in the world that did not exist prior? Because if the expectation of that creation is that other people flock and jock and gas you up for self-aggrandizement,
if the intention is to get feedback, right? If the intention is so that you can be hyped up, if the intention is so that someone can say, "Oh man, James, that's a pretty cool picture. Sae'Von, that's a really good rap."
Then is it really about the art?
It's not. And then you're really, why are you living for other people?
That's a whole nother discussion.
Why are you living for other people? Because your relationship failure has everything to do with you and nothing to do with anyone else. 100% you. Okay? Are you taking actions? Are you dreaming big enough so that you're failing with what you're doing? Are you setting an outlandish goal? 5,000 songs in a year. Who the hell is going to hit 5,000 songs in a year? Are you literally going to leave the studio? Okay, but you said something that ridiculous. And what happens if you hit 70% of that?
There you go.
You release more songs in 1 year than anyone ever has in their life. And you set a new Guinness Book World Records, and your name gets in something. Like, are you serious? Or your name doesn't. Literally, you release so many tracks that there is no way, for better or for worse, that you don't get picked up somewhere.
In some capacity.
Whether it's hate, whether it's trolling.
They made 5,000 songs that suck. You know?
but you still made, if you made 70%, I'm not going to do the math, but 70% of 5,000, and you made that many tracks in a year because you set the intention was to go out there and just swing the bat 5,000 times.
Yeah.
What could come of that?
And how much learning and how much growth. And I think that's where that kind of...
How much room to fail forward.
And as you were describing that, I'm thinking more and more just about how when you start to fail enough, they're not failures anymore because that relationship is so different. It's just the day to day. Like, you know what I'm saying? When I tried to climb up the patio today, my shoes were slipping. And so I couldn't like really monkey it around. So it's like, I was like, dang, if I had like something I could brace it and all this, but my shoes kept slipping. I'm like, fuck, And so then I figured out another way to kind of get up it. But in my head, that wasn't a failure. It was just, it didn't work.
Yeah.
It's not like I failed necessarily.
Like, what is he talking about? I locked him out of the house today. I went to go get some coffee and I put on a podcast and he was like, no, I'm just going to get in the house. Well, he locked himself out of the house with some internal lock. We got that 3 lock, 4 lock, 5 lock. Yeah. And so this man literally scaled the back deck. There's no stairs, by the way, guys. Zero. No stairs. I come up through the garage. I'm just chilling. I'm just listening to music. Got my coffee, right? Being a little stinge with some nitro cold brew from Starbucks. Cost me $9. Why did I do that? I don't know. Walk in and here's this man, this odd man looking in the back window. He's like peeping in, like what's going on? I'm like, oh, what's Sae'Von doing outside? That's Sae'Von. So I go to open the door and it's locked. And I was like, wait a second, this man's stuff is outside. He's not been inside. How did he get on the deck? I open the door. He's like rubbing his legs a little bit, and like, James, I got locked out. I was like, you got locked out? Yeah, I got locked out. So you mean you scaled this shit? Yeah, absolutely. I was like, wow, man. Wow.
Yeah, man.
What a time.
But even that relationship with failure, because it was so fun to me, because the first time it didn't work, I was like, damn, I guess this can't work.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, we gon'. And then when I got up on the top, the door was locked, and I was like, fuck. And so then I look at the window, and I'm like, okay, well, if I can move the screen out. And so that's what I was doing as you caught me. But yeah, man, just when failing becomes as normal as breathing, like it's no longer even categorized as failing. So there's
E.T.'s got that when you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, and that's not that's not a 1-to-1. But if you change that up a little bit, let's adapt it. And if you fail every day as you breathe, if you fail as you breathe every day, and be like, oh, James, on some wax here, what is that? You're right, maybe.
Nah.
You fail as you breathe. I mean, literally, the failures become successes. The failures become successes because the goal is to fail more, to try new things, to not worry about what somebody's going to say, to not worry about, is it perfect, right? Because perfectionism, guys, is blocking yourself from failure.
I wanted you to elaborate a little bit, as I guess as we get closer to wrapping up, and kind of give people a teaser of what could be a deeper dive. As you pointed out, expectations, the difference between expectations and standards. I got to add one in there. The difference between expectations, standards, and perfectionism. Because I think it'd be, like for me, I think about myself. Someone else, what I know my perfectionism, somebody else. And sometimes you've admitted it's like, oh, you have standards though. It's like, yeah, but that's an excuse for, that can easily be, a red herring for perfectionism. So how do you see that though?
Perfectionism.
Because standards are a thing, but where's that line at? How would you navigate that?
They are. So with that's not something I've like the three of those elements and how they.
I knew it would throw a wrench in it because
Yeah, I haven't thought about it like that. So standards, expectations, and perfectionism. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think, and this is going to jar some people. I think perfectionism is literally just the extrapolation of you not being willing to let go of your own ego. I think it's a pride thing. And I think that, perfectionism is oftentimes us being afraid to show somebody the vulnerability that we don't have all of our ducks in a row.
That ain't perfect.
We don't have that. So like you can have a standard, okay? So like maybe if you're making music, like don't put 4 chords together that are in different keys at different BPM, right. Or don't drop a drum loop into something when you're programming in synths and the tempo is different and you're not intentionally time stretching and restretching, whatever. The same thing with editing. You can try new things. And if you're going to try something that is not the standard, that is almost not counterculture, but counter what's accepted, then that has to be the intent, right? The intention behind it.
Yes.
Because the perfectionism comes in when you're like, I'm not going to release that because it is different. I'm not going to release that because somebody's going to think that, that's not allowed. But if your intent is to try things that aren't allowed and see what happens, then that's okay. But I think that, and we'll have to really unpack this deeper because my mind's even just running as we're talking about this. But I think at the end of the day, dude, expectations are bullshit. I think expectations are bullshit. And I think that people got to drop expectations. I think you should have standards, but you should also be looking, smiling at the front door, ready to walk out and fail today.
Yeah.
Dare to fail. I put that in my bio the other day. And it's something that every time I open my Instagram, now I see dare to fail. And it's something I think I picked up from somebody else and kind of changed vernacular just a little bit. But it's something I think is, you can avoid perfectionism by daring to fail. If your mission, the mission of today, right, is to execute on things that we said that we were going to execute on. There's a lot of wrenches that we had, right? And we could be perfectionists. Right now we're running not like we want to.
Not at all.
Okay? With location, with lighting, with cameras, we are not running like we want to. Batteries dying, sketchy stuff's happening outside. Like, stuff is happening, but we're daring to fail. If this flops, great. At the end of the day, it's another swing of the bat. And we are bringing something to people that we feel provides value to them inherently. And I would prefer more of our conversations be more public so that people could, maybe they have thought similar things or gone down tangents, but someone's crushed them. Someone said, don't go there. Ooh, don't get canceled over there because you actually want to stand up for people that should be stood up for. Some more stuff we're going to go into at one point, but like just because the norm in a space is XYZ doesn't mean that it's right? Doesn't mean that it's something you need to adhere to. And also you need the room to grow, to think, to collaborate, to communicate with other people that have probably, right? We've talked about plenty of times, ideas have people don't have ideas.
Yeah, man.
Dropping jewels. With that, like, if you don't give yourself the space to try, if you don't give yourself if you don't give yourself the space to grow, and nobody grows when they're comfortable, right? Try new stuff. What are you doing?
Yeah, man. I think the moral of the story is that failing is lit. And one day, just a heads up, man. So y'all let us know how soon y'all want us to go through this. But we have plans to literally have just an episode where we just talk about like our top failures. You know what I'm saying? Just like, shit, this was an L. This was an L. This was a big ass L. I think to one, it'll be helpful. And really just this, I encourage everybody listening, take some time and reflect on your own quote unquote failures. But then I want you to take it a step further and reflect on how you learned from that scenario and what you took from it. And if you find that hard to do, that's where you fucked up. That's the failure.
If you don't take the time and the intention to go back and analyze and then apply for future situations, if you don't learn from whatever's going on,
lost opportunity.
Yep, absolutely. Go sit in the corner.
Do
better next time.
Do better next time.
Like you have to learn, you have to grow, you have to be willing to put yourself in temporary, uncomfortable situations, even in your own mind, to have growth. And if you don't do that, throw in the towel now. If you're not willing to try, at least try. Throw in the towel now. Get out of creative. Because it's not glamorous.
Nah.
And everyone's going to say, oh man, you're painting in your room, or you're making music, you're a beat maker, you're on SoundCloud. Like seriously, the sweeping generalizations, people in professions that are quote unquote societally better, they're already going to give everyone a harder time with the bias that's there when they want to introduce you. You're dating somebody and they're a doctor. You're dating somebody and they're a nurse. You're dating somebody and they're a lawyer. Oh, my boyfriend, my girlfriend, my significant other is a photographer. Okay. You're already going to face so much scrutiny. So if you're not willing to make yourself uncomfortable, open your mind to even going down that path, get out now. Get out now because it's not going to be fun. You're going to get smacked from every angle. So, that's what I got to say about that. And I think that this was a great topic for us to go down.
Yeah.
I think we really kind of bounced the ball back and forth. And I think,
we touched on it, what I'm saying? It could be exhausted further and further, but, go do something, go fail at something. Now that you've, got these thoughts and think about the next thing that you've been putting off because you're afraid of messing it up. I have some things on my list that have been delayed because for fear of fucking up. But hey, we're running into the fuck up, so.
Yeah, and we're accepting them. We're accepting them as growth. So I'm in the mind that, we're going to keep running. And if there's one of y'all or there's 500,000 of y'all, we still gonna release this.
Yeah. So this is like an experiment in real time. So yeah, we're not gonna take any more of your time at this moment, but thank you all for joining us today, listening. Hopefully y'all got something valuable from all of this. And if so, go ahead, subscribe, because there's going to be plenty more like this, plenty more days. And check out the other episode as well, Different Means. It balances this one out a good bit, different show. So that one's a lot more based around overall optimization, which this one talked a lot about too, but definitely check that out. If you're creative and you really vibe this one, you probably need that other one quite a bit to balance you on out. But yeah, thank y'all again, and we'll talk to y'all real soon.
See y'all later.
Real soon.